Catalina show, lunchtime. Lunchtime, thank you so much to Rudy's Barbecue. I always go home with a green chili stew because it's true. And the green chili stew is glorious and amazing. But never forget about the brisket, moist please, the ribs. I get a pound of ribs, nothing else, eat for 3 days, pass out, wake up happy. And the pork loin. Oh, I tell people never get barbecue chicken because normally it sits too long and the skin isn't, crispy and all, but they do glorious barbecue chicken at Rudy's Barbecue. Lunchtime Wednesday, Tony Catalina, gig him 247, hangs out with me inside the Charles Schwab studio. How's your world, dude?
It's good. And hearing you talk about Rudy's makes me excited that I'll be there tonight. So I'll be there for Elko's coach hour. So I'm going to have to probably take up that barbecue chicken there. But no, life's good, man. Life's good.
For those that don't know what Tony just said, he's like, wait, is Tony okay? What's he rambling about? Tonight, 8 o'clock. And for the next 12 or 13, 8 p.m.s, Mike Elko is at Rudy's Barbecue. It's called the Aggie Football Hour. He's out there 8 to 9 o'clock. I think he made the Aggie Football Hours a little bit legendary personally because he goes out there, he shakes hands. I think he does some autographs if I remember right. He socializes to the extent that you can. I'm not going to say he's going to sit there and eat with you and hug you, but and he makes it into a Mike Elko party. He is funny. He is light. He's a football coach. It is a great Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko.
For sure. And I'll be there. The first one is the one that I'm like, hey, I want to come in. This is an important, like you said, he's really great in the public setting. He says a lot of good things. I think he's funny, he's quirky, he's forthright, he's forthcoming a lot of the time. So it's a good environment, something that I feel like I got to step in, at least for the first one.
Yeah, it will be a must listen. I promise you this. There will not be one of the Aggie Football Hours that he won't say a minimum of one, if not up of 5 things that you'll want to know.
Right.
That's how good he is.
And
there won't be a single one. The exact. That's my job. Right. I get it. But I'm just telling everyone, you'll want to. And by the way, maybe you're like, hey, dude, I work at 8 or I can't leave the home past 7:20 or whatever. You can listen to the Aggie Football Hour on News Talk 1620, 94.5 FM. That's our part. People always say the sister station. I don't check gender of radio stations. It's our partner station, News Talk 1620, 94.5 WTAW. You can listen online at radioaggieland.com and you click on WTAW. So you don't have to miss it. But I'm just giving you a heads up. And they're great. They're absolutely great. Whether you go in person to Rudy's, listen on WTAW Live, listen online at radioaggieland.com. It's funny. What do you think could be the number one question he would actually answer? Because, there's questions you can ask him and he'll give you the, well, I want to know too kind of answer. What do you think is the top thing he'd address that's addressable?
That's a great question because he is very calculated in his answers. I think now, because I heard you when I was driving in talking about the SEC resolution, I think now there's some clarity, at least conference-wise. Maybe he'd be a little more free to be like, about time we figure something out, right?
It's about time we agreed on something.
Something, right. Like there's some type of governance, right? And it's been a rudderless ship for a while now. So maybe he'd be a little bit more upbeat with that.
I think that's neutral enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For him, he's somebody that, he's been very open about the fact that, hey, we got to figure something out. You could just tell in the tonality he doesn't really love the way things are going, and I think that's a shared opinion in that. So now that it seems like the SEC is putting, kind of money where their mouth is as far as governing body goes, I mean, I could see him kind of taking a swing at that.
Okay, that's fair enough because, with Aggie football, and here's something I picked up with him. When he goes from SEC media days to the first fall camp to even then his first in-fall camp, he has no new data. You never notice that he doesn't have as much to say. Even when he comes out, sometimes he's a little quicker to answer. But when he has stuff to say, man, he's glorious, right?
For sure.
So there's nothing new to say.
No. I think, to me as a reporter, as somebody who's been to every single practice and every availability, so you try to find some new angles to talk about, right? And as you get to this point, it gets a little tough.
So
right?
I was going to say, thank you. Give everyone your perspective on it. You just said, though. It's tough. What is there to ask?
Right.
Now?
And it's hard because I'm not trying to say I'm this hard X and O's guy, but sometimes you want to ask scheme questions. Sometimes you want to ask personnel questions. they're not really going to give you anything leading up to week 1, right? They're not going to tell you, oh, this is what we think of this personnel grouping, and this is how we like to run out, and we're going to favor this in this look. Like, and I don't know how much people want to hear that, right? Like, I think people...
That's not what Aggie Football Hour is either. Aggie Football Hour is truly a fan show.
Yeah.
The Aggie Football Hour is where Coach Elko's going to tell you, I can't wait for the red, white, and blue remembrance, and he'll tell you personal stories, and it's that is a fandom thing
for sure. And Andrew Monaco's a great MC, right? Like one of the best to ever do it. So like he carries this. It's always fun. Like I was at Coach Early's last year. I was at the first at Coach Elko's last season, and they're just a good time. Like that's just objectively as a human who enjoys football and likes listening to a guy who can be funny and really off the cuff with some of his answers. Like that's the perfect setting for him to kind of just let his hair down a little bit.
Yeah, I think with Elko next Monday 1:30, because every Monday game week will be his weekly media day. That's the next time to get an X or an O. Because tonight is about let's celebrate Aggie football at 8 p.m.
Absolutely. Yeah, Monday is when it locks in. It locks in for us. It locks in for the players. Like it becomes no longer fall camp. This is game week, right? And I think people understand that. But even like the tonality, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, it switches, right? I feel like in-season Elko is much different than fall Elko or spring Elko or summer camp Elko. Like those are different conversations with a different guy who's in a different mode. So
you say summer camp, and I'm thinking like Meatballs Bill Murray and like, I don't have a version of summer camp Elko in my head. He always seems to have a somewhat... He's always light, but he's football Elko. So I don't have a summer camp Elko designation in my head.
Now going out to, now that I work at 24/7, it's going out to some of these, camp and prospect camps. He's very chill. Like not like when it's in season.
There is a summer camp Elko?
Yeah, there is. I'm telling you right now. He
can be tubing down the Guadalupe?
Bro, more so than that, he comes around on the golf cart and might have made fun of me 1,000 times this summer.
Now, I caught that. I caught that.
Yeah. Like and I love that. Like as somebody who's from the Northeast, and I get the humor because he reminds me of like an uncle who just like every time I saw him said something. So it could be anything he would tease me about. And I don't know if you get exactly that in season Elko when he's worried about LSU in week 4. It's just not the same. But no, it is definitely, you can tell you can turn on the football mode a little bit quicker when he has to.
I would imagine he has trouble teasing a reporter about being in the way of his cart when he's just praying that his kicker can make a kick from 40. how when you're losing sleep over a kicker making a 40-yard kick, it is hard to crack jokes.
Yeah, and now that they got 2 of them, I think he's sleeping good. Because, going out there was between David Olano and Asher Murray, the freshman, both look really, really good.
You know what was interesting? And this was great insight to me because it's only Wednesday, so it'd be Monday or Tuesday. I kind of asked, what are the final questions? Because, we have spent 8, let's call it 9 full months now.
Yeah.
At what are the questions for Aggie Football 2026? And, the questions now are the final questions. I don't have the same ones I had in January.
No.
There hasn't been a game. And a lot of stuff is, but I need to see it. Well, I have no questions about the A&M wide receiving core. Because back in January, who's going to replace Casey Concepcion was valid. And the answer is the core. It ain't anyone. It's them. That's not a question for me entering the season.
For sure.
And they haven't played a game.
Yeah.
But I do not have that. So I asked that question of everyone listening, and I got so many questions about the kicking game. But when the day they signed Olano, one of the most accurate kickers last year in all of D1, if I'm not mistaken, I never had that question on my list again. Am I wrong? Do I need to see it to believe it, or is he evidence enough that just isn't a question?
I think, personally, it's a little bit of scar tissue, right? I think people saw the way it was last year and just kind of the ups and downs and a lot more downs than ups last year in the kicking game. To me, I have the same sentiment that you did. Like David Olano, veteran kicker, he's won games, right? He's game-winning kicks. I believe he's had like 3 of them. So he's somebody who has skins on the wall. But then you talk about, I mentioned Asher Murray, the freshman. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana. Even if he doesn't beat out David Olano, which, we got a veteran kicker, bring him in, he's got skins on the wall, like I said, he can go and make kicks. Even if he doesn't, it felt like he pushed him this summer, right? Like he's a guy who, if David Olano didn't have his best day, Murray was still drilling 50, 55-yard field goals. Like, they have 2 kickers that I think anybody can feel comfortable about, and competition breeds excellence, right? So, like,
always,
you got 2 guys battling it out. Whether that's a real battle or not, we'll see. But I think no matter what, they're going to be in a good space because I believe the same way you did about David Olano.
Yeah. So a lot of people had it that's kind of interesting because so that means maybe in general, maybe it's my small sample size, but not many people maybe got the message or it just falls into they need to see it. But I like your scar tissue. Maybe it is just remembering the bad times.
Yeah.
For me, my standard is always 10 wins. And they won 11 games with giving up plus plays run D. They won 11 games with awful field goal kicking.
Right.
So that's not the how to repeat or step in the way either for me.
No, and two, if you look at a lot of
you can make life easier with certain things.
For sure. And like to your point, to add on to that, like the conversation about Marcel Reed and can he take a step forward and what his deficiencies were last year, they still started the season 11-0. He still found ways to win big-time games on the road against LSU and Notre Dame and come back against South Carolina after the worst half of his career. Like, this is a guy who now is no longer just a first-year starter. He's a veteran quarterback who has a voice in this offense, who has something to prove himself. So all of those things and all those things people worry about, they still were a quality football team last year and have all of the elements and the principles to do that once again.
In order to get to 10 plus and on a schedule that's tougher, so your team has to be better, not an individual. Your whole team has to be better because your schedule is going to be tougher. To get to 10 plus, these are the margins. They went out and addressed the kicking. The margins have to be better. They knew they needed to be better, I think, in the middle of the field. They had to anyway because they had to replace linebacker. And they went and got a Ray Coney. Elko went out and addressed. He's not blind.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's why we talk about the word. Like, people talk about rebuild, retool. No, it was a reload. Like, it's the same thing he did from 24 to 25. He looked at some of the deficiencies there in 24 where, like, hey, the secondary was a problem, right? They didn't look good against USC in the Las Vegas Bowl. They had some problems in the back end throughout the whole entire season. What was the strength last year? What looks like to be one of the deepest positions in 2026? That's a 2-year offseason cycle where he turned a perceived weakness into a strength.
I got to see Ricky Gibson play. I've heard so much about him.
He's good.
For the whole offseason. Well, not a doubt thing.
Yeah.
I'm just dying to see it finally. When you hear so much about someone who, by the end of the year, he could be the best guy in the secondary, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Considering how many NFL prospects are in that secondary,
for sure.
I want to see that.
On top of that, too, just like I said about David Olano and Asher Murray, you got a guy like Julio Humphrey who, even if he doesn't win the job, has been one of the most impressive guys in camp. So you got a guy who arguably was a top 3 performer, in my opinion, in fall camp. It might not even start.
But he's going to play.
But he's going to play.
And people are going to be fresh.
And Lyle, you just played.
And you don't have to be tired in the fourth quarter.
That's it. And Lyle Hempel, and you played it a few minutes ago, like, he looks at it as a 140 play sample size, where he's going to have guys on both sides. He's going to be, it's going to be Jordan Shaw in the nickel. It's going to be Bryce Anderson. It's going to be Tafik Bayard coming down. Like, they have so many guys that they're going to rotate and play. Even if they don't get the starter label, these are guys who are going to get 40, 50 snaps a game.
Okay, I'm so happy you brought that up, because that's another conversation point. When we're trying to do returning starters, whether it's lost games, right? How many players actually start on the defense? Because I know it's 11, for that first defensive snap of the game where you get a penalty. But let's be honest with each other. When you do 2 deep, when you do rotations, D-line, secondary even, isn't there closer to 14?
Easily. I mean, you're talking about TJ Searcy, maybe one of the best, run defenders on the defensive line, and then you got a guy like Anto Saku, who might be one of the best pure pass rushers you have on the team. Those guys I would consider starters, but one of them has to start, right? So you look at the other side, and you look at linebacker. I think Noah McHale is somebody who's been super impressive this fall, but if Ray Coney and Damian Sanford are healthy, they're probably going to start. But Noah McHale's going to get a ton of snaps, just like Damian Sanford did in that number 3 role last year when it was Scooby and Torian. So you got guys across this unit, and how deep they are at safety, you got to have Tafik Bayard on the field. Even though you got Dalton Brooks and you have Marcus Radcliffe, both captains who are going to earn starts because they're coming back, they got to find ways to get guys on the field. So, yes, 15, 14, 16 guys, I would even argue.
Yeah, 16 was the highest end.
Yeah.
Nobody has that much talent on defense to go much further than that.
Sure.
That's playing players because, and I've seen coaches do this sometimes. They play players because they believe they're supposed to versus have. That's a mistake. Okay?
Yeah. And that was the part, because we had talked about it all of summer. In Houston, when Elko said this may be the deepest, or he did say this is the deepest secondary he's had in his time at Texas A&M, when I kind of asked him to expunge on that, he said more so it just feels like we have SEC NFL talent. So like instead of just looking at, hey, we got 3 or 4 guys we like, we got about 5 or 6 guys we like and 3 or 4 we love. And so that's something that's, a luxury, but at the same time, injuries happen, rotations happen. Just to not be able to skip a beat when you go to your second string guys is a huge, huge thing.
To be able to be start a game fresh in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Sorry, that is brilliant. and again, I think one of the most important, the D line is the most important freshness of all on the defensive side.
For sure.
Because D linemen, all gas, no brakes, whatever, they have to go 100% every second they're out there. And to be fresh in the fourth quarter on the D line, with the game generally on the line, you got to have depth in the D line of all the units.
No doubt about it. And I mean, and we had talked to TJ Cersei about it last week or earlier in the week, and he said, yes, they were talented last year. Cassius Howell, 12 sacks. Dayon Hayes got 4.5. He said, we may be better. The hope is that, we got 4 or 5 guys that when come on the field, you feel no difference in who's getting after the quarterback. They truly believe they may be a more deep group if they're not as top heavy as last season.
Let's take a timeout, come back. And Tony, you got 3 minutes. The question I posed to everyone, you don't have to spend an hour on it, but what are the actual questions you have left, or the final answer type questions, because I don't have the same ones from January to now without a single game being played. And maybe that's me, fool's gold, but I don't care. Hey, my show. Tony Catalina, inside the Charles Schwab studio. It is the Louis Bellina Show. I'm going to stick with the Wednesday edition on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Still Creek Mechanical. And with that name, it's like robots, spaceships. No. Air conditioning. Your air conditioning. It is August. It is Texas. It is stupid hot. You don't have to sweat it out. Call Still Creek Mechanical now. 979-595-4253. But then again, we live in a world on the web, right? StillCreekMechanical.com. Schedule your AC consultation today online. StillCreekMechanical.com. They're Aggie owned and operated. They've been serving the Brazos Valley for over 20 years. That's Still Creek Mechanical. Get ready to make yourself comfortable again, and it's right away at StillCreekMechanical.com. Set up the consultation. I got a deal for you. Let's say they come out and it's like, got to do X, got to do Y. You can get $100 off of repairs at Still Creek Mechanical just by saying, Louis Bellina. Louis Bellina Show, The Zone, because you might hate me. You don't want to say my name. I respect that. So you can say Louis Bellina Show, The Zone, and get $100 off repairs at Still Creek Mechanical.
Activate. Spin your Aggie football Saturdays, starting with the game day show, to the game, to the call-in show, and only on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
It is the Louis Bellina Show. It is. I'm going to stick him with Wednesday lunchtime thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. I'm Louis Bellina. He is Tony Catalina. Gig him 247. We hang out and whole lot of maroon and white. Why? Well, he's gig him 247. And that's what he does. That's why. And plus, we all, truthfully, both of us have just a great passion. We enjoy our A&M athletics. We enjoy our Aggie sports. We're fans. Cannot wait for the games. And next Wednesday, Tony, you do realize, we're talking about game Saturday and game week and actual game. Like, we have survived the offseason. We're 10 days away.
I cannot wait. I mean, for me, it's now we're in that part where, like, the eagerness comes in, right? Like, obviously, I've had enough stuff to do that I can bide the time. But as you get this close and the fall camp practices are closed and we can't get in, I'm in that window right now where I'm like, man, like, I just want to hurry up and get to the action here. So
I got to get your thoughts on SEC, Big Ten, no pro players, LSU told players to sue the NCAA and everything involved. And Ryan in McGregor sent a text message even, I got to share, from an ag who recently spent his last 30 years tormented in the belly of the swamp beast. This week, it keeps getting better and better. Something that would bring down LSU football and basketball together would be an amazing gift that may keep on giving if it results in an institutional penalty. Like the LSU, and they didn't say which coach, they just said LSU. This report encouraging the player sues violates an NCAA policy of detrimental to the institution conduct.
Yeah.
That's about as detrimental as it gets.
For sure.
So, your thoughts on the state of things?
I mean, we kind of briefly touched on it when we said what would we want Elko, what do you think Elko would talk about, but it just feels good to have some type of structure, some idea, because I love college football. Everyone, obviously, who's probably listening to the show loves college football in this town is based off of the love of college football and college athletics. It just got really bizarre there, right? For no reason. Like, it's just, when you're talking about a guy who would literally ask the NFL team to cut him so he can come back and play for LSU, we have completely lost our minds. Like, that was completely, to me, just dirty in every way. And I even tweeted about it. Like, I'm not very overly opinionated, passionate on social media, but when I saw this kid playing 2 preseason games for the Cleveland Browns and then say, hey, I want to go to LSU now, that is to me an absolute unfathomable thing in my mind, right? Like, it just blows my mind. And I understand that A&M and basketball has had some potential, Bryson Warren and how that'll affect them, but I understand what that will do. I still think bigger picture, this is something that has to be eradicated, that has to be figured out, and so what? So be it. That's my opinion. I'm about as passionate about that as I've been in anything, because it just, you're losing. I feel like as popular as college sports is right now, specifically football, they're doing everything they possibly can to kind of turn people off to it, which is really, really not a good place to be right now. So that's my little synopsis on it. It's frustrating, right? It's frustrating to see kind of this game you love get weird here for a second.
More than a second.
It's a long second.
And it keeps spiraling. And it always dawns on me who thought, introduces this, who thinks it's a good idea. We're talking, Chip kind of mentioned $10 million coaches. They don't win, they lose their 10 mil. And it is kind of, you have to explore you have to do everything you can or you're a bad coach.
Yeah.
But isn't there certain things where you just go, no? Well, shouldn't there be?
Well, to
or
me,
are you not doing your job?
Right. And I actually agree with Chip, because as long as I agree with Chip in the sense that, like, coaches, to your point, have all this money at stake and they have their careers and livelihoods at stake. This, to me, was a call to action to the conferences, to the NCAA. Do what you can, and that's why SEC and the Big Ten and potentially ACC, coming together and saying, like, hey, like, this is nuts, right? Like, this is crazy. We got to have some regulations. But in the meantime, Lane Kiffin, for everything he says that, is nonsense, him saying, like, you're either going to play with these guys or you're going to play against them. And so I can't blame a coach for this because, like you said, there's livelihoods at stake here, but that's why I'm saying institutionally, can we figure out a plan for this? And it seems like we're starting to get down the right path, even if it is step one.
How much entertainment is that they went ahead and included the NBA and WNBA just to shut down LSU on every front?
Yeah. What are they going to have, like 4 guys on their roster now?
They're going to start walk-ons. They will have to start walk-ons. Because Will Wade gambled. He tried in the portal, got too late, missed out, then had to go pro leagues from all around the world. And he had like 5 players waiting eligibility rulings. I think this pretty much shut down like 4 of them, but don't quote me on it. And I know the number 1 player, the former Big East player of the year, yeah, they're going to start walk-ons.
Yeah,
so at least one probably, but they're going to have to start walk-ons.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, this is, and it's bad on everybody involved that didn't get a hold of this early. I mean, we're, 3 days away from the first set of football games? People have been waiting all off season for this. And the conversation dominating talking points right now all across college sports and any type of talking show is, what is the state of college athletics and where could we be as, as a civilization? It's just jumping the shark right now.
As a civilization.
It really is crazy to say, like, hey, man, I watched this kid take snaps against the Atlanta Falcons, and now, we're getting them ready to go tee it up against Missouri State or, Chattanooga. It's just crazy. It's nuts.
So would the play be, and I was thinking about this, and I don't know if they can afford to do it, shouldn't the G6 allow it and just make it, G6 doesn't have to play along with the P4?
True. I mean, what about Notre Dame?
Well, Notre Dame, they came out. They were one of the first ones that just said, our semester started. How do we even get them through admissions? They,
right.
They took the high ground because, no one said they wanted to go to Notre Dame. It was kind of easy.
Right.
So, they could, but they've already said they're not.
Right.
But if I'm the G6, matter of fact, the newly formed Pac-12 strikes me as prime time for this. Take them all.
What about, where I covered before this was UConn. UConn's an independent. UConn doesn't have the literary, checkpoints they got to touch with Notre Dame. Like, I'd be like, hey, this is a landing spot for all of you. Until there's something figured out, let UConn be a national champion contender.
They don't have the money for these players. Because you got to ask, what's in it for the players? Why would you leave and keep coming back to LSU? Pyburn, do I have the name right? Mm-hmm. Had the 2 sacks even in his why already got $115K check? Yeah. I mean, why? Because the NIL pays more.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
undrafted contract. NIL pays more.
For sure. And I thought that I understand basketball has gotten funky and it's been wild all winter about how this is going to work out and guys playing and then not being eligible. I always thought that football just had a more hard and fast rule where, hey, if you run out of eligibility or if you declare for the NFL draft, whether you get undrafted or you're a first round pick, that was it. You lost your amateur status and that was it. Apparently not. And so things had to be figured out. Good on Big Ten for jumping out in front of it first and kind of just taking that first arrow, but it seemed like a common sense thing. It almost was like a PR plus to just do it.
I hate the Big Ten with a passion because I think they're arrogant and full of garbage. So I have a theory that ever since, you remember in COVID, they were the first one to cancel their season and then were forced to uncancel and only played a 4-game schedule because it was such a disaster. I feel like they've been chasing ever since. They've tried to get back to relevancy. NIL allowed them to overcome their disadvantages as a recruiting base because the migration of population is why they started becoming irrelevant. Except for Ohio State, the only one that could recruit nationally.
Right.
Well, NIL is why they've won 3 straight national championships.
For sure. Even the playing field.
Yeah. The population centers don't matter anymore. And I just feel like they formed the alliance, then shanked their partner. They've been chasing ever since they made the biggest mistake ever, which was canceling the season first for COVID.
So they had to be first in this, in your opinion, just to kind of...
It was an easy stance.
Yeah, a layup. You take the layup and you can get it, right? And so, it's interesting. I'm wondering how it's going to unfold on this because, like I said earlier, I mean, we're days away from the first week 0, right? So... are we going to have guys battling it out into week 2, week 3, week 4, and then all of a sudden we're going to see them on the field week 6? That's a weird world I don't know if I want to be a part of right now.
Yes. You're going to have to sue, get eligible. A lot of these players, you look if they're in the draft, what year they undraft. They're already 30. How much XP do they need? I mean, this is all so fun. Or maybe these rulings, because remember something. Yeah. You look at the SEC penalty. 50% of your annual budget's forfeited.
Right.
Coach can't coach 50% of the games, and that's not going to be one of those things. Was the judge going to retro make them eligible and the coach? Can the court do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Right.
This is so landmine filled to try and force this through by any institution now.
For sure. And to that point, you mentioned it, the courts, local courts playing a hand in this felt like the nastiest part of it all to me. Was that okay, you can have a ruling and then, all right, we'll just go to this guy who's an alumnus of the school who's now a judge and he'll be like, yeah, of course I see it your way. You're good. You're clear. That always just felt gross to me. And it felt like if we don't have rules, if we don't have governing bodies, and I'm not Mr. Government body here myself, but there's got to be some rules and regulations. Otherwise, it's the wild, wild west.
So you'd have the judge, the local Louisiana parish court, district court, whatever, and then he ends his ruling with "Go Tigers."
yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, that's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I mean, from a, you don't even have to be banging on a table in one way or the other to know that that's pretty awful.
When we return, it's a couple of text messages, final thoughts. Tony Catalina, Gig'em 247 inside the Charles Schwab studio. It's a Wednesday thing. Something big is coming. On September 2nd, DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive deals, an all-day celebration built for sports fans like you and me. The countdown's begun. All roads lead to game day. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in all 50 states. That means Texas, California, Florida, all 50 states. There's a code for new DraftKings customers, KZNEAM, KZNEAM. And if you use that code, if you're a new DraftKings customer, $5 gets you $200 in rewards within 21 days. KZNEAM. ZNEAM. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click to claim, issued in non-withdrawable prediction dollars that expire in 1 year. Check out the terms at dking.co/predictions promo, nationwide, based on sportsbook predictions, and free-to-play sports contest availability varies by state.
This is Aggie Land's home for TexAgs Live. Louie and Chip, The Zone. 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, community, and this just in, Tony Catalina.
Yeah, obviously we were just talking about the eligibility things, and shout out to Luke Evangelist over at TexAgs. He was jumped on it early. Bryson Warren has been granted a TRO, temporary restraining order, in Brazos County for his eligibility lawsuit against the NCAA per his legal team. So we were just talking about how it's up and down. It's funny. This is something we spoke about, minute and a half ago, and then this comes right as we hit the break. So, I mean, it's a fluid world we're in, right? And so that is good for now. What that means going forward and exactly how this all shakes out is very ongoing and overflowing. But on the court, right, because I had talked about on the court, Bryson Warren is a guy who helps his basketball team. Does he stay eligible? Does he stay good to go? That remains to be seen. But as of right now, according to Luke Evangelist over at TexAgs, Bryson Warren has been granted a TRO that looks to allow him to join the Texas A&M basketball team again.
He is now currently eligible. It's not over yet. And here's the thing. Tony and I hate this, but if you don't play the game that's currently going on, you'll get destroyed by all that do.
Absolutely.
And that's just how simple this is. Because, do I want Bryson Warren eligible? I don't want any pro player in any NCAA league at D3, D2, D1, D4, anything. That's what I want.
Right.
But if this is going to happen, I want Aggie basketball to make the Final Four is what I want.
You couldn't have queued that up any better if you tried, in the sense that, nothing about the principles of this changes how I feel, right? This is a weird world we're in. But like I said about Lane Kiffin, and like I said about agreeing with Chip and his point of view, there's jobs on the lines. There's wins on the line. If you're not doing every single thing you can to turn over every stone you can, you're doing yourself a disservice. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it in totality, but they're playing the game within the construct of the rules and what it is right now until things change. And right now, this allows Bryson Warren to be active. We've seen that he was active through much of the spring and through much of the summer, and then that changed in the flip of a hat, and now we're back to this in square one. So all of this, you take it with a grain of salt. It looks good on the surface right now for A&M, but who knows what it means in the long run.